This week we're looking at an incredible statement by the Apostle Paul to the believers at Corinth. This statement is in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 17. Let's take a look. But in the following instructions I do not commend you, because when you come together it is not for the better, but for the worse. Imagine that. When you come together as a church, as a faith community, it is not for the better, but for the worse. Pretty amazing stuff. As always, you should familiarize yourself with the immediate context and the broader context of the letter. But for our purposes this week, let's dive right in and pick verse 17 apart. Tuto de parangelon uk epaino. So let's start at the last word. Epaino is praise. I praise. It's a verb, and it's preceded by the uk. So he says, I do not praise. And let's go toward the front of the sentence. Tuto de. But this, parangelon, is a participle of instructing. But this instructing, I do not praise. Like this instruction that I'm about to give you is not containing praises for you. In fact, it's about the other thing, the opposite of praises. So para, along, angelon, message, delivering a message. So how is this instruction? This is instruction like you would coach someone personally, being alongside them and giving them guidance in what they're doing. So here Paul says, I'm about to give you some guidance. There's guidance that you need to hear. This particular guidance has no praise in it. It's the other thing. Let's carry on. Hoti uk eis to kreson, ala eis to heson, sun erkesthe. So let's start out with the verb at the end, sun erkesthe. This is a present deponent indicative verb, second person plural, and it's from erkomai with the prefix soon, together or with. Erkomai, I come or I go, soon with. This verb means to gather. It's in the second person plural. So it's you gather or you are gathering. So let's go toward the front of our clause. Hoti, because, uk eis to kreson, it is not for the better. Kreson comes from agathos. It's a comparative of agathos. Agathos means good. Kakos means bad or evil. The comparative here is to kreson. It is not for the better, ala, rather, eis to heson, rather for the worse, the comparative of kakos. So agathos and kakos, good and bad, or good and evil. The comparatives, kreson, better, heson, worse. Notice the rhyme. So Paul gets their attention with a little literary flourish with a rhyme. When you guys get together, and remember, it's not about the meeting, it's about the act of getting together, because he used an indicative verb, and he says, when you guys get together, the getting together of you is not for the better, but for the worse. Uk eis to kreson, ala to eis to heson. Not for the better, not for the good, but for the worse, for the bad. Pretty astonishing and amazing stuff. And remember what he said in the first part, this instruction is not praise. I'm telling you guys a truth about yourselves that is not praiseworthy. Your getting together is not for the better, but for the worse. So, what's the issue here? What's happening in Corinth that makes their gathering not for the better, but for the worse? Let's take a look at verses 18 through 19. For in the first place, when you come together as a church, I hear that there are divisions among you, and I believe it in part, for there must be factions among you, in order that those who are genuine among you may be recognized. So there's two phrases in here that I really want to take a look at. Let's have at it. Sun erkomenon, That's a participle from sunerkesthe, sunerkomai, that we had in the previous verse. And the participle is followed by humon. Notice humon and sunerkomen have the same, sunerkomenon have the same ending, that omega nu ending. This is a genitive absolute where we're treating the pronoun humon like the subject. When you are gathering, or while you are gathering, en ecclesia, in church or in the church. So when you are gathering in church, then we're told something else. So remember, the word is about coming together, right? Sunerkomai is about coming together. Then he says, akuo, I hear, schismata, schisms, divisions, factions, en humin, huparkein, exist, huparkein, to exist. So when you are gathering together in church, I hear there are factions and divisions existing among you. Wow. So sunerkomenon is about coming together as a whole, but how can you come together as a whole if what you're really doing is gathering a group of separate factions, divisions? There are schisms in your group, and even when you come together as one body, it's not really one body on account of the factions and the divisions. Your gathering is an oxymoron. Pretty magnificent stuff, which leads us to Paul giving an example of why that's a problem. Why is there no praise for them? Why is he instructing them about this? Because the fact that in their gathering, it's not really a gathering, but it's a summit of factions, he tells us what the result of that is in verse 20 through 21. When you come together, it is not the Lord's Supper that you eat, for in eating, each one goes ahead, prolambane, with his own meal. One goes hungry, pena, and another gets drunk, methue. So prolambane from prolambano is to anticipate or to take before. So before you get there, you already know. You're waiting, you're chomping at the bit. You have a plan of what you want at the table. And remember, what kind of group are they? They're a group of factions or divisions. And in any group of factions and divisions, some are more favored than others. And generally, Corinth is a rich, powerful city. Which factions do you think get to go first? Do you think it's the poor? Do you think it's the disadvantaged? Do you think it's the lowly? Or do you think it's the important, powerful, wealthy, and known people? The result, we're told, is that because they're in anticipation when they get up there, they have their meal planned out, they're coming away with everything they want, and the result is one goes hungry, peno, and another gets drunk, methue. So in a meal of bread and wine, some people are empty, don't get enough, and some people are exceedingly full, drunk, and get too much. Why? Because it's a function of the divisions and factions. You should be coming together as one, but you're not, because there exist schisms, divisions, and factions. And as a result, when you meet for the Lord's Supper, it's not really the Lord's Supper. It's a feast for some and a famine for others, and it shouldn't be this way. Look at the last thing that he says in verse 22. What? Do you not have houses to eat and drink in, or do you despise the church of God and humiliate those who have nothing? See the socioeconomic dynamic at play? Those who have nothing still have nothing, even when they come to a meal at the church. What shall I say to you? Shall I commend you in this? No, I will not. I have no praise for you in this instruction, because in the act of you gathering together, you're not together. Why? Because I hear there are schisms, divisions, factions in the church, and it must be true. How do we know? Because even when you gather for the Lord's Supper, Some people get to go before others and they eat and drink all they want and there's nothing left for those who go later. And this is not how it should be. Do I commend you in this? No, I do not. That's why Paul says, in your gathering together, it's not for the better, rather for the worse. Schisms, divisions, socioeconomic divide that results in haves and have-nots in what should be a unity feast in the Lord's Supper. He says it's not even the Lord's Supper. It's just some getting more than they need and others getting less than they need. And it shouldn't be this way. The great news is, in the modern church, this kind of a condition doesn't exist. Thanks for watching. I hope it was good for you. If it was, you know what to do with the liking, sharing, subscribing, etc. Let your friends know that you find value in the channel so we can grow and keep doing Koine Corner and the Wednesday Word of the Week. Until next time, Kars Kai Irene Humin, grace and peace to you.